Woo! Hey everybody, Jim Salmons here, the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by, I can't get my can out of my koozie. Ballast Point Brewing Company. Going for the longfin lager today. It is, again, super hot here in San Diego. Cheers to everybody. Happy Friday. Man, I like cold beer on a hot day. I like cold beer on a cold day. So got a great show here, but, you know, some first news around here. We've had some really, really good tuna fishing offshore. Finally got the boat back from the shop. My trailer got fixed. So huge thanks to FE Trailers. They knocked it out. Once I finally, the issue I had was getting the parts. But once we finally got the new axle, they knocked it out for me in a day, put a new spare trailer mount on there and everything. Did a great job. So really thanks to them. So we're finally gonna be able to get out on the water on the boat and chase after some of these tuna. My buddy Ron was out, or Rob, I'm sorry, was out earlier this week, and he kept 10 yellowfin tuna, released 10 yellowfin tuna, and had a bunch of bluefin tuna. Said he broke off on like 5 bigger bluefin tuna. I mean, there's some good fishing going off of San Diego right now. It's supposed to be kind of windy this weekend, so I might wait till Monday to go out. But good fishing going on for sure. If you haven't done so already, if this is something you're still interested in, and remember we have God, that gets a lot of glare there. The cyber fishing rod sensors. Anybody who uses the code CyberJim on their website can get a 15% discount. Kind of curious if any of you guys have done that yet. If you have, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Got a couple comments here already. Dave Thompson, how you doing? And Carlos from Campeche, Mexico. Thanks for joining us, Carlos. And I love the fact that we get viewers from all over the world on this show every week. And, you know, this show is always about, try to instill some knowledge, share about products that we've been using, give any tips, answer any questions. And that's why we love to get questions on here. So by all means, bring on the questions. We also love to share about our adventures and, how we're doing here locally, but also, the places we love to go. And that's what this show is going to be all about today, is about places we like to go. And one place in particular, one of my favorite places, and I've said this for years, if I could go back to Panama every single year to go fishing, I would. I mean, there's a lot of great places down there. I've been down there with 3 different groups. Pesca Panama was when I went the very first time. We were probably the first kayak anglers ever to fish Hannibal Bank. I mean, insane big tuna, all kinds of great stuff. Went down there with our good friend Henny Murray, who's going to be on the show today, of Paddle Panama. We visited with him a couple of times, and we're going to talk all about what he's doing. And of course, Los Buzos, which, for kayak anglers, for hardcore kayak anglers who just want a really dialed in kayak fishing destination, Los Buzos is doing it right. Henny's doing it different. He's doing it right, but it's a little bit different. And that's what we're going to talk about is how his trips are different. And I'm going to share my experiences with his place, because I absolutely loved our last couple trips with him. But again, just a different sort of thing. So that's why it's cool to go to different places and get different experiences. John, how you doing from Oregon? Mike McKenna, how you doing, man? So yeah, bring on the questions, please. Like, comment, and share. Henny, again, from Paddle Panama, has been very nice and is offering a great deal to one of the viewers or participants in today's show. Like, comment, and share during this show. And you'll have 24 hours. So if you're watching it as a replay, type in their replay so we know that you watched it. And you will have a chance to get a 15% discount on one of his trips, for not only for you, but for you and two of your buddies. So it's a great deal, and I really appreciate Henny doing that. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring up my friend Henny Murray from Panama. Henny, how are you, man?
Hey, Jim. Good. We don't have the one you got there, but we got the Panama Lights. So,
if you're in Panama, if you're in Panama, you may as well have a Panama. So, cheers to you. Happy Friday.
There you go.
So, I was lucky enough to meet Henny quite a few years ago, and I think we were actually at ICAST when we met, or maybe it was Outdoor Retailer. I don't really remember.
Outdoor Retail, I think it was the first time.
Yeah. And started talking about what you were doing, and your trips are very unique, and because I love Panama, it was a great fit. So the adventure element of your trips. I'm actually going to go ahead and bring up add this onto the screen. Whoa, that's not the. Oh, let me fix this. Always got to change things so it looks right. There we go. Black. Make the background black so it looks a little bit better. So these are some photos from the last time we were there. Didn't mean to start right in the middle. Really professional here today.
It's an adventure.
Yeah. Every one of these live broadcasts is an adventure. So, this is from our last trip. Why don't you tell us about this great little location right here?
Jimmy, so that's Hake in the Darien jungle. I've been very lucky in my life to somehow always end up in these adventurous, very remote spots. First in Bombom Island in West Africa. We were fishing for 1,000-pound Atlantic blue marlin, and I used to, in my time off, grab a little dugout canoe from the Africans there and paddle out with them. And I guess that's where the kayak bug bit me. But then I spent 8 years at Tropic Star Lodge in Bahia Pinas in the Darien. And
Tropic Star Lodge. So if anybody who's a hardcore fisherman, they've heard of Tropic Star Lodge.
You gotta. It's like one of the have-to-fish destinations. And they have more world records than any other place in the world. And it's just an absolute beautiful lodge and beautiful place to fish. Well, I spent 8 years working there from 1999 to 2008. In that time, I fell in love with that area, with the local people. And in the village right next to Tropic Star, we built a little beach house.
Oh, that's the beach house is right down from
that's it's 120 nautical miles from Panama City. There's no roads for 100 nautical miles. The only way to get down there is by plane or boat. And so I fell in love with these remote places, the people in these remote villages, and I was crazy and built a house there. I knew that if I wanted to go back there one day, the only way I would be able to afford to go and fish down there was to have a little place down on the beach. And so one thing led to another, and I discovered kayak fishing. I was in South Africa, and
how long have you been in Panama?
Since 1999, yeah. So this is a lifetime. And I happened to be in South Africa, and I was looking for the rock and surf fishermen, and there was nobody rock and surf fishing, and then later on in the day I saw, heck, all the guys were behind the surf fishing in kayaks. And in South Africa we paddled this a stealth kayak, which is like a surf ski kind of.
Yeah, long and fast.
Yeah, long and fast, and they made for surf. They made for paddling places where you got a lot of beaches and waves and things like that. And then, so the bug bit me, and I brought some of those kayaks here to Panama, and I was the first guy to take those kayaks actually up the coast on the Suero Peninsula, where I run into Pascal, French guy, and he couldn't stop. He couldn't wait to get my kayak. He bought it off my car. Right. and Pascal started the East Kayak operation down there, and then Los Buzos later on came. And then, so I was like paddled Los Buzos. Well, I don't remember. It was about 2008, I think, the first time we paddled out there. And the bug bit me, but for somehow I was always looking for that adventure place, that place to get away from people, away from villages. You want to get to good fishing nowadays, you gotta be in areas where there's very few humans, or low human impact.
Right.
And the Darien was just one of those places. So, there was two places in Panama that I looked at. Originally, one was Bahia Honda.
Which
And
we went to on our first trip there.
yeah, we did, and we had that awesome rooster fish there. So the fishing by yonder areas, maybe, although even though we got that awesome rooster there, I was thinking it was over 60.
Yeah, it was about 72 pounds.
Yeah. The fish there there was a little bit on medium size, I would say. But the great thing about Bayonda was that you could fish it year round. There's no swell. The Coiba Island protects that area of the Panama coast. So there's very few places in Panama that you are protected year round from the swell.
Right.
And Bahia Honda is one of those places. So we fished Bahia Honda there. It was more like camping style, it was, right? But it was away from adventure. But I got my place in Arcade, and there's nothing out there. So the second trip we did, we went out to Arcade, was just, we paddled for miles and miles down the Darien jungle. It's one of the least harassed jungles in the world. So to see that nowadays, we can paddle down the coast with no human impact. It's rare. Those places are hard to find.
And well, and again, I've been to a lot of places, and that stretch of jungle where we paddle, that stretch just as a paddle, forget the fishing. Right. One of those beautiful paddles along just that rugged coastline, boiler rocks, little islands, little pinnacles, jungle, lush jungle up there. I mean, because if people don't know exactly where we're talking about, it's this we're at was basically isn't it the last village before you're in Colombia?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's the most southern part of Panama.
Yeah. So up that coast, there is really the Bahia Piñas, which is the village right next to Tropic Star Lodge. Very small community. Jaque, which is a bigger community. We got infrastructure there. We got a good runway, a little hospital, schools, and sort of a little frontier town. Makes you think of those little Amazon towns where you had the ferry boat and the Indians and the chickens and the parrots and everything. It's just a great little town. But at the same time, we have power. We got good drinking water there. And any place we have power, you can have cold beer.
Which is key.
You could build a house there, all right? So that's how that thing went. And anyway, yeah. So it's just untouched coastline there with no villages, no towns, no impact there. And then the other greatest thing from it, it's an hour flight from Panama City. So there's no long drives. Everywhere else we go in Panama, it's a very long drive. And you pretty much
and that's what I said. I love Los Buzos, but it's a mission to get there. Absolutely, because you do have a fairly substantial drive.
Yeah, everywhere. All our good fishing is a good drive away from the city. But with Jaque, we have a 10 o'clock in the morning flight, and we're there 11. By 1 o'clock, we're in the water fishing. And so you really gain 2 days, and just spend more time. You don't get hammered on the road. So that's a great thing to be able to be in the middle of nowhere with 100 mile of coast with no impact, and only be an hour from the city.
Yeah, and it was very convenient. They're great little planes. It's people think you're flying in a third world country or something, but they're nice caravans, and it's a great little runway. Like I said, a cool little town. I remember the odd things where we're like having to check in with the military when you left in the day and when you came back, because you are so close to Colombia, I guess, is the issue.
Correct. Yeah.
But I mean, such an awesome place. And I'll scroll through some of these photos again here in a minute. But you're again, like I said, I love Los Buzos. They're doing a great thing. You're doing things a little bit different. Your plans for your trips are a little bit different. You want to go into any kind of detail as what your mindset is and what your thought process is on this? Because it'll be like smaller groups, right?
Correct. Yeah. So like I said, I like the idea of somehow the adventure part of things always attract me. Going looking for something new, something that you're not going to find around the next corner. I could fish a different place every day, and So with the jungle there and the beauty of the place, it's more like going on an expedition than going on a to a fishing lodge or resort. So I call my trips expedition trips, and we do depends on the client's capability or what he would like to do. Anything from hardcore fishing all day down to just regular sea kayaking down the coast, jungle hikes, going to Indian villages up the coast and experience a little bit of the culture. Um, Surfing is great. We've got a great beach to surf from, paddle boarding. So I can do pretty much, depends on what the client like to do. I think what we're gonna do this next season is I want to do my kayak fishing trips expedition style. So we'll go into our cave, spend a night in the house, ensuite, air conditioning, the whole deal. You know, fish a day or two, maybe just in and around the village, down the islands, and so on. And then go up the coast and we'll spend a night on one of the remote jungle beaches. Um, so
Set up hammocks and
yeah, like you have this jungle hammocks. They got bug screens in them. We'll spend a night there, and you could fish till sundown and paddle right into the jungle beach. Next morning, paddle out from it at 5:30 in the morning. You can be fishing. So there's no delay. There's no waiting for anything. You're right on the spots where that fish are, where the action is. And then you could go up a little bit to the village of Playa Muerto. It's a Huanan Indian village, and they're famous for their basket weaving.
oh, that's the one we went to, right?
Yeah, no, we went up to Birukera, which was
Okay.
up the river. So if you're there on a 7-day trip, we normally take a day off and we go up to the Indian village. But there is another one that's a little bit further up the coast called Playa Muerto, and we spend a night there with the Indians in their village, and it's a traditional Huanan village. They're super famous for their basket weaving, and just amazing people to hang around. And when you paddle out in the morning, the kids was probably going to paddle out with their little canoes. I think you got a picture there of one of them.
Oh yeah, let me. I'll bring that up.
And they just awesome. Just that
and I tell you what, anybody's curious about, there was pretty good surf in front of the place while we were there, and these guys were paddling out on these dugouts, standing up. And then they would come in and they'd be like surfing in and bailing water at the same time. I mean, their skills in these boats were so incredible. And they were the nicest people. And they had a lot of fun with us, and we did with them. If I scroll up here, here's a group of the kids from the village. As soon as we walked into the village, I'll never forget, they followed us around the entire time. And they were so sweet, and everybody was so nice. And of course, like I said, there's some decent fish down there too.
Yeah, and it's great. Those people live such a simple life. We sometimes forget in our lives, how basic and how happy you can be with just a canoe and catch out, and how happy you can be just to catch a fish, right? Those kids, every fish they catch, everything, it's just they just love it. They just do it. It's like so natural for them. For us, it's all a sport. It's great. It's fantastic. But for them, it's just natural to go out there and catch fish. And they awesome seamen with their kayaks. They're just incredible seamen.
Yeah, it was incredible. So anybody who just joined us, show of course brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. We are with Henny Murray from Paddle Panama, talking about his location and the trips that he does down there. He has very generously offered to give 15% off a trip for you and 2 of your buddies. So, but you need to like, comment, and share this show if you want to be eligible. And we'll be doing this for 24 hours. So if you're watching it as a replay, just type in replay so you get entered in there, and we know that you're participating. And of course, we'll go back and answer any of your questions as they come up. But we're talking about kayak fishing down in Panama. Let me jump over here, say hello to a couple people. Got Jack Stowe saying nice photos. Yeah, we'll go through more of those photos here in a second. Jeff, how you doing, man? Michael, Ozzy is watching. Miyakota, Edgar joins us all the time. Thanks for joining us, man. So love. Said some weird noise. Was that something on your end?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, I mean, we did a lot of throwing lures. We did a lot of we'd jig up some baits. A lot of throwing poppers. You know, just so much. I mean, I just want to scroll back up to the top of this thing and kind of just slowly scroll down. You can see that's the beach right out in front of the place. There is surf, but you say a lot of times of the year it's fairly flat, right?
Yeah, correct. You know, so we have two winds in Panama, north wind and south wind. And Panama is exposed 99% of Panama, except Bahia Honda and Bahia Piñas, are exposed to either the north or the south wind. And for our season, when there's no surf, runs from November to like April. That's typically northerly wind, blows a little bit stronger. I don't know if you remember, we had some days the wind could come around the mountains, but we fish close inshore, so it doesn't affect us too much.
Yeah, I don't think the wind was ever much of a problem. We had some strong currents on days, but I don't remember. I mean, we did have some thumpy surf a couple of days.
Yeah, so typically we don't get any big surf that time, and then August, September, October, that's when we most probably can get our biggest surf. You know.
So anybody that lives in those cold weather climates, that sounds like the perfect time of year to get away from their cold weather and come down there.
Yeah, it's and then we get very little rain during that time as well. So you can almost guarantee that it's going to be sunny all day, all the time.
When that surf is big, now we launched a couple days with the boat and went out the river mouth. When that surf is big, is the river mouth still navigable?
Sorry, say that again, Jim.
Is that when the surf is big, is the river still? Can you still get launched through the river?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or does it break completely across there?
No, you can get out there. There's some different places where we get out. You know, so what we do is some days we paddle right from the beach there, and we paddle out to some islands called the Moros. I've had some great roosterfish and amberjack fishing around those islands. Typical days we'll go out early in the morning, fish for some goggle eyes, or I think you guys call them green jacks, and we'll fish those live. And then, if the bite's not good there, what we'll do is we'll grab a support panga and go 10, 15 miles up the coast. And that's one of those spots pretty much where you are there right now, and we'll fish up the coast there. A great technique here always is casting some, getting a live bait out and then slow trawl a live bait. And while you're doing that, casting some poppers at the shore. And you get the blue jacks, amberjacks coming hit up, roosters. They all hit those. Top water plugs while you're doing that, and that keeps the day busy.
Yeah, and like I said, it's such an incredible place just to paddle. And I mean, this Dorado that he's holding, what is this thing doing? Well, there was a Dorado there. I don't know why it this album is going kind of wacky here, but he's holding up a little Dorado in this picture right here. I mean, you can see it's very close to shore. Right. I mean, I caught one right in front of a like that little island right there. Mm-hmm. I caught a Dorado right in front of it, and it's like I said, it's right like these boiler rocks. It's a very dynamic fishery. A lot of big fish really close in. It was very, very interesting and very diverse. A lot of stuff, and you don't have to paddle offshore very far to get to truly blue water either.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The shelf, continental shelf, is only about 2 or 3 miles off the southern tip of our cay, and so we get really deep water in there. I've seen sailfish just outside the surf there.
Really? Really? Well, I mean, I don't doubt it because like I said, where I caught that Dorado, we also caught some small tuna, and we were, like I said, we were within casting distance of shore. It was amazing. Mike McKenna had a question: were shots, visas an issue? I don't recall having to get any shots for Panama. Is malaria an issue? Do we need to take? I don't remember. I haven't been in a while. Did we need to take malaria medicine there?
For U.S. citizens, you don't need visas for Panama. It's like a 2-hour flight from Miami, easy access. There's flights pretty much almost from any major city in the States down to Panama. So no visas required, no shots. I've had malaria 12 times in Africa, right? And in all my time that I've lived in Panama, which is 20 years, I've seen one local person with malaria. So,
really? Because I mean, that was a big deal. I mean, back in the day when they were building the canal, malaria was a huge issue.
Yeah, dengue fever, and malaria was big. But in Panama, they've pretty much eradicated compared to Africa. Like I said, I've had it personally 12 times in 8 years, and I've seen one case of 100. When I was at Tropic Star, we had 160 plus employees. I've seen one case. We used to get it like you get a cold back at the home. That was how we used to get malaria. For us, it was just another cold.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, that was it.
So people don't have to worry about taking the malaria medicine if they go down there?
No.
That's good to know. There was another question here. Oh, well, Blasilio, awesome place for fishing. Yes, it is an awesome place for fishing. It's an awesome place for adventuring, just paddling. Like I said, this area here, and like I said, I've been in several different locations in Panama, but this stretch of coastline was definitely some of the most beautiful coastline I've ever had the chance to paddle. It was
it's spectacular. Blas there is one of our clients. He's one of our shop pro anglers. He just won a tournament and caught an amazing amberjack in the Pearl Islands, which is halfway between us and Darien. Caught an amazing amberjack. I think it was over 56 pounds.
Wow!
Beautiful amberjack. What a great fish. They tough fish on a boat, let alone on a kayak. And he just got a beautiful fish.
That's awesome. Dave Thompson saying, well, what does a trip cost? Do you have that nailed down yet? Because you are kind of changing up your trip a little bit. So,
sure. Our trips varies a little bit depending on the support boats that we use and how many anglers are on our trip. But you're looking roughly at 7 days is around 1,990, and a 5-day trip is around 1,500. So that's around the pretty much most of the trips comes out around that price.
Well, that's very fair. It's I mean for what the opportunity. It's people are always saying, "Oh, that's a bucket list. It's a bucket list." Well, I always say it's like get off your bucket and just go. Stop waiting and go on these trips. They're not that bad.
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime place. I used to say that you got to fish Panama at least once in your life, and you more than likely will fish it again. And you've been here. The bug bites you. Once the bug bites you, it's hard to let it go. And so definitely, I mean, fishing is fishing, and some fishing days is better than others. But the beauty and the opportunity and the adventure of these trips is just amazing.
Well, and if anybody questions the price on it, I tell you what, take a look at the price of a trip up in Alaska. I mean, Panama is dirt cheap compared to going to Alaska. An Alaskan adventure, I mean, it's a beautiful place, but you're going to be spending almost that much a day versus, a 5-day trip.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of logistics that goes into it. A lot of pre-planning we have to do, where we actually have to pre-position, anything from kayaks to food to fuel on these trips. So these are not, these trips are not we get in a little bus and drive down to the resort and everything is there for you. There's a lot of pre-planning. We send our supplies out on local ferry boats to these villages up to a month before the client even arrived. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of adventure, but you got to get it right because you're in a remote place. You're not going downtown to get another cold one or to buy a burger. You got to be totally self-sufficient.
I mean, just seriously, I mean, just look at that. Look at that picture. I mean, to be able to paddle along there and fish in there, and some badass fish live in those rocks, whether it's Cubera or the Jacks. I mean, it's just such an amazing place to be able to paddle and fish. Like I said, I'm just kind of scrolling through, looking at more of these. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just, I mean, that blue water. Absolutely amazing. So speaking of kayaks, I know you provide a variety of different kayaks. You're not locked into one particular brand.
Sure. So we've done pretty much all of them. We've had the Jacksons down there, the Krakens that we paddled and played in the surf with. We paddled miles of them. I had some Perception kayaks down there that I paddled. It was really just simple and plain and easy to play with. I have some Stealth fiberglass kayaks from South Africa that are just killer in the surf. If you ever want to learn how to paddle through the surf and do some really good surf launching and riding waves back in at the end of the day, it's the place to learn. It's a great place to learn surf launching. And
so much fun. And if people look actually on our YouTube channel, you'll find a video that we put up of me actually kayak surfing in the Kraken out there, and it was pretty substantial surf that day. Right. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that was good surf that day. And I've had a couple of Hobies as well. I think this year maybe we'll have some Hobie compasses out there. With the Hobie dealer here in Panama, I'm doing the Jackson kayaks in Panama. I do Wilderness System in Panama. I do Perception, Stealth. So we do all of those. We got a small market in Panama, but we do all of those. We got a good Hobie following in Panama. Blas is one of our Hobie paddlers, and then but we also had some good Jackson guys. There's a fair amount of kudos around here in Panama, and some Wilderness System kayaks. So there's a little bit of all of them out here. Most of our kayaks out there were paddling kayaks rather than pedaling kayaks because of launching through the surf,
Right. Yeah.
But you can take the pedal kayaks on the pangas. We put them on that little support pangas and we take them up the coast. But if you're gonna paddle through that surf, you can't paddle a pedal kayak through the surf like that,
Yeah. Los Buzos has a wave, but it's like right on the shore. So basically, you just get out through that one wave. Out here, you're having to go through multiple waves. If there is surf, but you said it's much more tame in those.
Yeah, it depends. There's days now from November, December, January where there's not even a ripple. You pretty much get in the water and it's like a lake. You can see. Look at that picture right there. If you look at the back there on the beach, there's no waves. It's just a little ripple there.
Yeah, that was a great fish by Andrew. Let me back to the album here.
African pompano, awesome.
Yeah, that was a great fish, and that was one of the few fish besides the Dorado that we actually kept because we had some great meals cooked while we were there, as well by some locals. David, well, let's see. Harry Franco says hi all. Dave Thompson says very reasonable. Dave Thompson also asks, do you provide tackle?
We prefer that clients bring their own tackle. This kind of fishing is pretty hard on your tackle, and so we give a good list. We got a couple of rods and reels that we do have for somebody who can't bring it, or who happens to be down here and wants to go down for a weekend. But typically, we prefer that anglers brings down all their own tackle. It's good to bring down.
I think guys in general are happier if they're fishing their own gear. Yeah. I know I am. I don't want to use borrowed gear for the most part because I know what line I've got on there. I know my reels.
You comfortable?
I know you're going to have people that would fly in from different places, and having it would be a little difficult. So it's nice to have a little bit. But I mean, if you can, I think everybody's much happier if you can bring your own.
You're comfortable with your own gear. You know it, right? So you just make sure that you geared up. The fish may be a little bit bigger here than what you're used to. So sometimes a little bit sturdier gear, but pretty much, your tackle that you use back at home should be good for down here.
Yeah, you want something something for throwing poppers. Maybe something a little bit lighter for catching some bait and fishing for smaller fish. Definitely something for trolling, whether you're trolling a live bait or trolling a Rapala style lure. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to bring a lot of stuff. But
good jigging rod, jig a little bit for some
jigging rod.
Yeah, that's it. A good lightweight bait rod can back up for you for casting small poppers and small lures to catch medium-sized snappers. It keeps you busy all day long. And then a good live bait rod or trolling rod that you can fish live baits. That's when you get a lot of your big cabera snappers, rooster fish on. And then a good popping rod and a jigging rod, and you set. That setup of yours is just awesome.
Yeah, there's a small that was a Siegler SG. So a small lever drag reel, a lot of drag power, but it's also great for trolling the lures or trolling the live bait or vertical jigging. It's a kind of a multi-purpose. I want to have something that I can throw a lure with. I would probably go down with a minimum, personally, because I always bring too much stuff, but I would definitely have that trolling setup, vertical jigging setup, popper setup, and then the one light rod. That's kind of where my head is whenever I go on any trip, is to have kind of that variety of stuff, because you never know. I basically bring a bass rod no matter where I go.
Yeah,
because you just never know.
You can never have enough tackle, right?
Right. Here's one of that kid again in that one of those dugouts. I mean, look at that big old smile on his face. And like I said, he was just crushing in the surf in that thing. I wish I had some pictures of him standing up in it, going out in the surf. Well, there's a shot of me actually coming in through the surf, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm coming in. Yeah. Very blurry shot, but is that we were out there playing around, having some fun in the surf.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to practice your surf launching. Some days at the end of I think that we did at the end of the day.
Right.
Go out a little bit, practice our surf launching, get a really good, it's a great skill to learn. You never know when you need that, right?
Oh, for sure. And like I said, you've been out there fishing all day, you're kind of hot, and this is just an excuse to get soaking wet and just get some laughs in and have some fun. I mean, like I said, look at that jungle there. Just an absolutely spectacular place. Well, that was, again, the day we were surfing. Big old blowhole there. Another nice Dorado. So, I mean, there's our happy kid. There's me surfing again. I want to get down here here we go. So this is part of it. I mean, like I said, the whole part of traveling and experiencing places. I say we go up into this village. We're greeted by all these kids who then followed us around the whole time we were touring the village. We got, I remember they opened up some coconut water for us, and opened up fresh coconut, and we drank the water there. And I mean, the people were just so friendly. And the kids were just laughing and smiling the whole time.
It's such a great opportunity to interact with the community. And I've had a couple of youth groups, even some of my kids and their friends, and we've gone up to these places and just hang out with the local guys and get the kids to do release little turtles. From September to November, the turtles hatch, and there's a little conservation program in Hake where we collect the turtles and then release them. And you take your kids out to these places where they interact with the local people that live such a basic life, and they come back different kids. Once you've just been out there in nature, you've kayaked a little bit, you fished a little bit, you've been up to these villages, you've seen the beauty of the jungle there and nature. Maybe do a little community work or contribution or something like that. You leave a different person. You leave a better person.
Yeah, like you said, you see that People think just because they're poor and all that they're not going to be happy. And I mean, these kids were out there kicking balls around and just happy as all get out. You know, I wanted to throw a Jackson Kayak sticker on this boat and take it out for a paddle.
Yeah, pick up the design of it. Yeah, you know, like every place in the world, people have needs, but it's amazing how happy you can be with you know, with the basic things. You know, if we're fortunate, we live in the tropics, so food is relatively easy for us. Everything grows. You just stick it in the ground and it grows.
Right.
Our waters are rich in fish and nutrients and things like that. But people can be pretty happy with you know, very little. And you see the local kids out there and people fishing with you in the community, and they'll give a little something back. Is awesome. It's part. It just makes you fulfill your trip. You know.
Yeah. This was like my favorite picture from the whole trip. You know,
Sweet.
we had the whole group there with all the kids. And like I said, these kids followed us around the whole time, and it was just so cool. We had such a wonderful time with those kids, and I think that, again, you know, adding to the adventure of it, you have your days fishing. A lot of times, if you got a long trip, sometimes, you know, take a day off or at least a half a day off and go up to these villages and do something different besides just fishing. It really adds to the whole experience.
Yeah, you know, it's a once in a lifetime trip, right? So
you know, we say that, but it's not. It's not a once in a lifetime trip because it is so much more affordable than a lot of these other trips. You say it's a once in a lifetime trip, but then you go to this place and it's so incredible. Like me, you have to go back, you know, 5-6 times.
Well, it's only 2 hours from the States, so you can't beat that, right? That's when flying to the next state, you can fly down to Panama.
Right. Edgar Hall, he says, I've been trying to get my kayak buddies to do a Panama trip. I'm 48, so I want to do it before I get too old to do it. Well, dude, I'm 57 and I'm not too old to do it. So you got some time. But, you know, this kind of brings up a question that I was wondering, you know, what kind of, because somebody could do like a private group. If they wanted to have their own group of buddies, you know, rent out the house, come down there and do a trip. What size group are you looking at ideally?
Well, you know, we have a two bedroom ensuite, and those rooms can easily sleep four guys to a room. Mostly, I keep my group small, so I do a group of 4. But if you're a group of 8 guys, and you know, my rooms are big, and it's very, very easy for 8 guys to go down there and share the house. Grab some kayaks and just go out. You know, you literally can paddle right from the beach down there, take a support panga, go up the coast, pretty much whatever you want to do. So yeah, absolutely, that's totally doable.
So again, once again, I want to remind everybody, you know, like, comment, share. Henny has very graciously offered 15% off for a trip for you plus 2 of your buddies. I mean, that's a great savings and a great opportunity to get down there. So we will draw for one of the people who likes, comments, shares on this. And again, if you're watching it as a replay, just type in replay, or you can ask a question, and we'll go back and look at this later and answer more questions. But if you want that opportunity, please like, comment, share, and you will have a chance to get that great discount. Mike McKenna, dugout Jackson. Yeah, I so wanted to do that. I wanted to have a Jackson kayak sticker on there and just put it on that and then paddle that thing. But yeah, I mean, you could see is actually, I want to go back to that a little bit, because if you look at this thing, you can tell this thing was designed.
So those ones are called chingos, all right, and they're made for the rivers where they're shallow, and you can. So you stand on the lip on the back or on the front, and they'll pole them, and they get poled up the shallow rivers. And if we look at the one of I'm not sure the one on the back there, it's got a little sharper bow, or the one of the kid in the water,
right?
You see, so that's more like a dugout that they paddle in the ocean. These ones are more for the river, and the one that the kid was sitting on, it's got a sharp end on both sides. And those are the ones they paddle through the surf. And he'll tip it around. If it floods, if the wave breaks over it and it floods, he'll move it forward and back so the water sloshes in it. And then eventually the water will slosh out on the sides. He'll jump in, and then with his foot against the side of the hole, he'll kick it like a bilge pump, and that's how he pumps the water out of it while he paddles through the surf till he gets outside of the break, and then he scoops the rest out or kicks the rest out.
Yeah, these kids are incredible in these boats. I mean, I think I'm pretty good in the surf, and I got nothing on what these guys were doing. It was absolutely amazing to watch them in action.
They can read the set so well, but it's their hometown, that's where they grow up, and they fish. These kids fish. They like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old kids, and you see them out there on their own little dugout.
Yeah. Michael says, what pound line on the reels? Well, I fish Seagar hollow core threadlock braid as my main line, and then I just vary the top shots of fluorocarbon. You got structure, you got badass fish. So depending on what you're doing now, if I'm off the beach a ways looking at, if they're smaller tuna, you can drop all the way down to 20-pound test if you want, but you never know what you're going to hook into. So I'm usually fishing a minimum 40. And then a lot of times you said you get in these Cubera areas that they might rock you. You're fishing 80, 130. I know guys that fish heavier. Particularly if you're fishing, if you get a big old live bait, you want that definitely that heavy line because they will bust you off in the rocks.
Yeah, so, good all round 65 pounds covers yourself a little bit here and there. Just in case you get hooked up in something bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
Edgar says perfect. He's got 4 for sure. Yeah, I mean you should do it. It's. I said just the paddling at this place is worth going. And the fishing and the catching fish is so much of a bonus for a place like that. Craig Miller, awesome photos. Craig Miller has actually been to Panama with me a couple times, or at least once down at when we went with Pesca Panama. Do you know Pesca Panama? Are they even still around?
No, they're not around anymore. I think they had a problem. There was a fire on board the boat or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so unfortunately they're not. I had that little mothership at Cueva last year, the Mamonito. That was great. We kept it up in Bahia. Honda went out to Cueva and paddled around. Spent the year there. It was a 88-foot old steel hull expedition boat, but we sold it at the end of the year. It's a program I want to do with kids, and our timing was just not right for it yet, but having a mothership is the only way really to go to Cueva.
Cueva is a awesome place. I said I fished it many years ago, and it was phenomenal. Now, isn't it a reserve now?
Yeah, it's a reserve. Yeah, so there's fishing restrictions on how close you could fish to shore, and etc. like that. Yeah, so there's a lot of restrictions in that area right now.
Yeah, we caught a lot of big roosters there.
Yeah, where we fished in Bahia Honda was just on the outside of that park.
Look at that. I mean, like I said, I keep coming back to it. Just the paddling itself, just being able to paddle in areas like this. I mean, that water is crystal clear. It's super warm. You can see I'm wearing long sleeves and long pants, and it's basically because you're keeping the sun off you. What's the average temperature down there? Because it doesn't vary a ton, does it?
No, it doesn't. The water is 80 Fahrenheit. Pretty much almost year round, with the exception here in March, we can get a lot of upwelling, and then it can get way cooler. The water cools down to the point where we can get red tides. Great time of the year to snapper fish. Not such a good time of the year for pelagics. As soon as the water turns over and gets cold. But the outside air temperature pretty much year round is in the 80s,
Well, here's a shot I talked about, the airplane. It's a small plane, but I mean it's a nice little caravan.
Yeah. Yeah, caravan, good planes, great bush planes, made for the jungle and bush.
Here we are sitting out on the patio, rigging up when we first got there. There's kind of a closer look of the house. It's very open. Like I said, and is that your normal program? You'd bring in some of the locals for cooking meals and.
Yeah. So, Jim, what we did, I think when you were there, if I remember right, is that they make a great arroz con pollo, and arroz con coco. So they take fresh coconut and cook that with the rice, and then or they make it a chicken and rice dish that's just killer. And then if we have a fresh fish, or we keep a nice one for dinner, we like to do that. And we also had in Panama we have some good home fed beef or homegrown beef, or free range beef, whatever you call it. And I think we throw a fillet or two on some local wood there. And so it depends what we want to eat. We do whatever we feel like. But that rice with coconut is always awesome.
Yeah, we ate well, we drank well, we had plenty of cold beer. That was the key. Again, here's a couple more shots of the area you're fishing. I mean, throwing poppers up in there, and I mean, it's just an absolutely phenomenal place. Make sure I got everything here. I'm going to drop that. For some reason, my controls for my screen aren't working properly. But so if people want to get to you, is the easiest way paddlepanama.com. I know you also have a Facebook presence.
Yeah, on our website there's a link that you can just click on and get hold of us, and our phone numbers and email addresses there. But I think there's a big red button. You just click on it, and somebody will get back to you.
Very cool. Are you doing setting up trips right now for 2020?
Yeah, I'm going to start around the 15th of November. From now till then is our rainiest time of the year. It's great fishing time of the year for us right now. I think the blue marlin is actually biting down there at Tropic Star right now. And it's good fishing throughout the rainy season, but because it's so rainy, it makes it sometimes a little bit tricky to get planes into the jungle down there.
Oh,
so to fly down there, you don't want to get it rains all day and then you don't get down there. So we start up here in November at the end of the rainy season, and so the start of the dry season, great weather, and pretty much you open good flying weather to get down there all the time. And so we'll start our 2020 season on the 15th of November, and I got a few guys coming down from the Keys. They're going to be our first group, Florida Keys, and so we're looking forward to an exciting year.
That's awesome.
We're gonna do some adventure kayaking as well, non-fishing stuff, but definitely, I mean, it is a fishing spot. It's a killer fishing place.
Right. It's a great fishing spot. I mean, we had good fishing, and let's put it this way: we had good fishing, and it was a little bit off because there was an upwelling. There was some bigger surf that came through and kind of knocked things down a little bit for us, but. The one day when the tuna popped up and the Dorado, I mean, it was just phenomenal fishing and great fishing along the rocks for the smaller snappers and the jacks and everything else. So, I mean, just so much to fish for, and just scenic wise, I mean, it doesn't get any better. So I highly encourage anybody who is interested in doing a little bit different trip. I know you talked about, mixing the trip up where, you could spend a day, go up to the village, spend a night on, in a hammock along the beach. So, get to an even more remote spot and be able to fish it until dark and then fish it from first thing the next morning. So I'm sure you can customize those trips how anybody wants, right?
Absolutely. Well, we hope to see you down here too,
I would love to get back. We're still working out our schedule, our shooting schedule for the next year. So if I could get back to Panama, like I said, if I could go back to Panama every year, I would do it.
It's going to be exciting year. You just don't know what you're going to get around the next corner. It's like I've lived there for 8 years and been taking my kids back this year, and it's just every day is just a surprise. I just kick myself. Why am I not down there all the time?
Because you're actually based more up in Panama City, right?
I'm in the city. Yeah, we got our paddle store is here in the city, and so I'm based in the city, and we just fly down there whenever we have groups.
Are
My
you?
wife,
Are you? I know we kind of touched on it. Just are you still doing stuff at Bahia Honda?
yeah, we do. We're going to focus a little bit more on the Darien adventure things, but Bahia Honda is available. We can go down there whenever we want to, right? But I think I'm going to start this year in the Darien, and then if the swell starts next year, and it looks good, then we'll switch to Bahia Honda, because we can fish Bahia Honda year round.
Right.
Um,
That's just a Bahia. You're launching from a giant bay.
Yeah, it's a lake. Up there you can paddle it from the top to bottom. There, it's like a lake. It's a little smaller fish, I think. Although we got that monster of yours there.
Yeah.
So
I got the one big rooster, and we caught a bunch of other fish, but I caught the one really big rooster and got destroyed by a big cubera.
yeah,
I remember it taking me into the rocks. Instead of going off to the right when we left, we went off to the left,
yep.
as I recall, and there was like a slot between a small island and the coast, and right in between there, I got just wrecked by a big cubera.
Yeah,
It's funny how you remember these things.
There's definitely good fish there. Logistics is, it's more camping style, but a great place to go, and you're pretty much sure of your water conditions every day of the year. It's always going to be the same. The Darien is a little bit more exposed, so it's going to be a little bit more seasonal for us, and yeah. So we'll start off November, December, January, February, March, April in the Darien, and then most probably switch over to Bahia Honda here coming June, July, August, September. And I think that's pretty much how our program's going to run for this 2020 year.
Awesome. Well, we got Serge from Ottawa, joins us pretty much every show. How you doing, Serge? Michael Callow, exciting fishing, and Sarge's Adventures. My wife is from Panama, was stationed there for 6 years, loved it for sure. I always go fishing each time we visit. I mean, how could you not go fishing if you're there? It's such an incredible place. Well, Henny, our hour is pretty much up. I can't thank you enough for joining us again. For people that want to reach out and find you, it is paddlepanama.com. And again, like, comment, share the show, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching it in a replay, and you are eligible. And we'll do the drawing tomorrow for 15% off a trip for you and a buddy. That's a great deal. So anyway, Henny, I'm going to drop you out of here, man. Thank you so much, and I'll be chatting with you soon.
Thanks, Jim. Great.
Right. Take care.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. It was actually fun for me, just kind of looking through my old photos and kind of reliving, our last trip down there just by scrolling through our photo album. It was such an incredible place. Please do, like I said, like, comment, share, and maybe you'll get a chance to win that. Share our page with people. That always helps us out. Give us the thumbs up, all that, stuff. Always help us out a lot. Remember, our show is brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. So, support them. They support us. And if you are going fishing this weekend, please wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.